Hey, student, how are you? Welcome to our session on rationalizing the denominator. We're going to take a look at these 8 problems. You could pause the video here and try them before we go through them. All right, here we go. Taking a look at the first 4 problems, rationalizing the denominator. To rationalize the denominator, our goal is to get rid of the square root in the bottom of the fraction. Mathematicians do not like square roots in the denominator. So to do that, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by the square root of 2. And you're going to see that this will eliminate the square root in the bottom. And we'll multiply straight across. 1 times the square root of 2 is just the square root of 2. And then the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, you could think of it as the square root of 2 squared. The square root of 2 squared is 2. You can also take a look at it as the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is equal to the square root of 2 times 2, which is the square root of 4, which is 2. And there we go. The square root of 2 over 2 is rationalized. Number 2, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. Square root of 3. And we'll multiply straight across, top and bottom. 6 times the square root of 3 is just 6 square root 3. And square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is equal to the square root of 9, which is 3. And there we go. No more square root in the denominator. Number 3, we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. Square root of 2. And we'll multiply straight across. 12 times square root of 2 is just 12 square root of 2. And in the bottom, we get 5 times square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. And then we will multiply the bottom and we get 10. And then we can reduce 12 over 10. We can divide the top and the bottom by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Rationalized. Number 4, we're going to multiply by the square root of 5, top and bottom. Square root of 5. Square root of 5. We'll multiply straight across. Square root of 7 times the square root of 5, we can put them together under one square root, 7 times 5. And you get the square root of 35. On the bottom, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is the square root of 25, which is 5. Now, we cannot reduce. The square root of 35 is trapped under the square root. So you cannot reduce. Cannot reduce. That is our final answer. All right, moving forward. We'll take a look at the conjugate. Rationalizing the denominator when you have the square root plus a number or the square root minus a number. The conjugate is the opposite sign. If you have the square root of a plus b, the conjugate will be the square root of a minus b, and vice versa. So for the first one, we will multiply by the conjugate, the square root of 5 minus 2. On both the top and the bottom. When you're multiplying top and bottom, this is essentially 1. So we're multiplying by 1. We're not actually changing the quantity of this number. We're just manipulating it to look differently. We'll multiply straight across, square root of 5 minus 2 in the top. And then let's take a look at the bottom here. We have the square root of 5 plus 2 times the square root of 5 minus 2. And we do need to FOIL this out. First outer inner last. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. Square root of 5 times minus 2 is minus 2 square root 5. Positive 2 times the square root of 5 plus 2 square root 5. And finally, positive 2 times a negative 2 is minus 4. We'll just extend our fraction bar. And now notice what happens when we combine like terms in the middle. Minus or negative 2 square root 5 plus 2 square root 5 cancels out and gives us 0. Then we're left with 5 minus 4 in the bottom, square root of 5 minus 2 in the top, and 5 minus 4 is just 1. So you get the square root of 5 minus 2 all over 1, which is just square root of 5 minus 2. Number 6. Very similar. We'll multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate of the denominator. We've got square root of 2 minus 1. The conjugate is square root of 2 plus 1. Square root of 2 plus 1. And we'll multiply. We do need to distribute 3 times the square root of 2 and times 1. And on the bottom, we will need to FOIL. Square root of 2 minus 2 times square root of 2 plus 1. And we'll take a look at that. On the top, we get 3 square root of 2 plus 3. You could also leave that factored depending on the answer form. And then on the bottom, we've got square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2. Square root of 2 times plus 1 is just plus square root of 2. And then negative 1 times the square root of 2 is minus square root 2. Negative 1 times negative 1 times positive 1 is minus 1. And once again, in the middle, when we combine like terms, square root of 2 minus square root of 2 cancels and is 0. We're left with 2 minus 1, which is just 1. And our final answer, 3 square root of 2 plus 3. And the last two problems, working with some variables. And we'll do very much the same thing. We're going to multiply. Oh, you know what? Let's simplify. I see that I have the square root of 9x. I could take the square root of 9 out from under the radical, and we would end up with 3 square root of x. And in the top, we could simplify the square root of 24. I can break 24 up into 4 times 6. I'm going to use parentheses so we don't get confused with the variable x. And then I can take the square root of 4 out from under the radical, and we get 2 square root of 6. All right, now I can rationalize. We're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of x. Square root of x. And we'll multiply straight across. 2 times, we have square root of 6 times the square root of x. We can put them together under one square root. We get the square root of 6x. And in the bottom, we've got 3 times square root of x times square root of x. Square root of x times the square root of x is just x. And we can't reduce the 6 and the 3. We can't reduce the x's because the 6x is trapped under the radical. All right, last one here. I think I'm going to start by using the property that allows me to take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom separately. If you have a fraction under a square root, you can take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom separately. Now we'll rationalize by multiplying by the square root of 3y. Square root of 3y. We'll multiply straight across. Since we are multiplying square root of 7x times the square root of 3y, we can multiply them together under one square root, 21xy. And on the bottom, square root of 3y times the square root of 3y, we just get 3y. And that concludes rationalizing the denominator. Thanks so much for joining our session, and I'll see you next time.